Referrals, building in the Middle East.
G'day, Sam. How you doing, mate?
Good morning, Damien. Very good, very good. Nice to see you again.
Likewise, it's always a highlight of the week is a golf founders recording session. Once we get past all the little teething issues of overheating computers, microphones, and everything else.
It's still early days. We've got plenty of time to perfect this. So, no, I'm looking forward as well. It's always a good, selfishly learning from you. So I uh, extend my knowledge, but also, I was thinking about this before. We're kind of documenting all of our learnings as well for everyone else. So it's nice to be able to, in a way, give back to all those startups and any other business owners who's who's checking us out. I love the topic today. It's I think we could talk about this one for hours actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that whole, where does the business come from, and what are the key kind of elements there? Is something that, I mean, it's taken me a long time to learn. In fact, I'm still learning it, and just looking back at how we find our customers, how we get our referrals, and all this kind of thing is something that it's a never-ending learning experience. Is probably a one way to describe it.
I think for the Middle East businesses, I think this topic of how to attract customers is very localized as well. I think it's different for different regions in the world. So I think for business owners starting up or business owners in the first few years in the Middle East, like I think our learnings from growing our businesses in the Middle East, this will be very valuable for them as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I mean, the I guess what's suitably ironic's not the right word, but we kind of met through one of those networking groups as well originally, and
Mm.
I'm sure we'll touch a little bit on that today as well. But right, so I mean, a bit of a different topic than the last couple of podcasts. So yeah, shall we get into it then?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I can't wait. And like, where would you like to start? Which section? The maybe we start from the top with the opening, setting the scene.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, so the first kind of question we had here is like, what percentage of the business do you say comes from referrals versus cold outreach, and how has that changed over the years?
Hmm.
So, yeah, how do you think about this one, mate?
For me, I know my answer is going to be quite different to you.
Mm,
For me, it's purely referrals. Cold outreach from how we've grown our business has been uh, next to non-existent.
really?
From the referrals perspective and the growth of through referrals has come through many sources as well. So I think referrals, I can see further down with the questions, referrals are broken down into many verticals as well. And definitely the percentage of referrals from one source compared to another source has definitely changed over the years. As we're experimenting with new tactics, new marketing strategies, and some work better than others. So I think it's important to pivot and not just bang your head against the brick wall and just keep trying the same thing year after year. What about you?
Well,
Cold
actually, my
cold
answer is not
outreach
going to be
versus
that
referrals.
different to yeah, so I've got a little bit of lag here, sorry. Yeah, so actually, my answer is not that much different to yours. I was kind of looking at some of our data just this morning, and the, I mean, thankfully, and I imagine yours is similar to this as well. The majority of our business each year is recurring business, so the clients we've worked with in the past. But I was looking at how we acquire new businesses, and like you, very little of it actually comes from cold outreach. It is inbound, and that might just be the nature of our business. And I'll comment more on that in a moment. But many of our very, very best new business comes from referrals as well. And so for us, it's often where because we often deal with HR departments, and those people will go from one company to another. So some of our biggest clients have come from people moving from one organization to another wanting e-learning, and then bringing kind of us with them some of the time, which works out really well. For the cold outreach, like maybe this is a bit different to your experience, but we maybe this is why I justify that we don't get as much on the cold outreach. We don't often convince someone that they need e-learning. They kind of come to that realization themselves, and then they go looking for people that have it. So I'd say maybe even not the majority come from referrals, certainly more than what we get from the cold outreach side.
Has it changed over the years? So that's the second follow-up question to this one. From you were saying one way that you've been generating new businesses from your point of contacts going to other businesses. So has that always been quite constant as the largest source of referrals, or has it changed over the many, many years?
Well, I guess the referral side naturally increases in quantity because you've got more people that know who you are that can refer you. So early on, you don't necessarily get a lot of referrals because you don't have that many clients or that many people that know about you. And I kind of have this somewhat joke that like in e-learning, kind of all roads lead to Capitec, and like eventually if someone asks enough people, someone's going to know either the company or me, and then hopefully we get a referral out of it, and that's come like just on LinkedIn. Even like people just go, oh yeah, at Damien, they tag me there, or get an email intro and stuff like that. So I'm curious, like, because you have a lot more clients than we do, just so you've got a larger quantity than are going on at any given point in time. Do you have any idea, like, what percentage of those come from referrals, or?
It used to be nearly 50%, even more. And that was the collective figure. Actually, to be fair, at one stage it was up to 70% was coming through referrals. And we grouped a number of sources into that referral category. So source number one, like you said, customers coming back to us for, I suppose that's not a referral, that's just repeat business, but customers referring us to their friends. So that's a referral. Another referral is business associates and partners referring us to their friends. And look, it's probably not so accurate, but we used to loop in like customers with repeat business, but that's not really a referral. So if we're looking at pure referrals, it was probably around about 50%. I would say today it is less, just because we're not changing our way for marketing, but we've just been trying different tactics and focusing on different avenues, and then also business networking. I've taken a step back from that, so of course referrals will drop that way. But actually, like, I think the best source of new business is customers, repeat customers, like you said, or customers referring you, because like whenever they don't have to refer me, like they do it because they want to, because they love our brand, they love working with us, and we didn't ask them to do that. So for me, and I always say to our customers, like, I'm so humbled, after 15 years, still getting a referral by a customer is like super humbling, right? Yeah. And it just speaks the most volume that you're doing something right in business when they did that, and they don't expect anything in return as a result as well. So it was our major source of generating new business. It's probably a little bit, quite a lot less today, just because I've stepped back from the networking events. Before we move on though, I want to circle back on the cold outreach, because like you've tried a number of cold outreach tactics. We've also tried a number of cold outreach tactics. And actually, we've had some success from the cold outreach tactics in the past as well. I know, like, and what we've hired a cold calling company once in the day. That was extremely successful. It wasn't cheap, right? But it was extremely successful because we were able to target exactly who we wanted to bring on as a customer. And when you target, that's the cool thing about cold outreaches. you don't know who you're going to speak to next when it's a referral base, right? Like it could be someone huge or it could be someone small, like a startup. But when you target and focus on a cold outreach, like outbound marketing, you can focus on who you want to attract or the sectors you want to attract. So like I do like that actually. What about you? I think you've always been experimenting with some cold outreach tactics as well. Have you seen any that's worked extremely well?
I wouldn't say I'd say that they worked extremely well. So I talk about what we're doing right now. We're doing, multi different approaches. So, and often on the same like demographic or the same list. So what we have right now, we've got like a LinkedIn outreach. The best, actually, the most successful one I've done recently is a LinkedIn outreach to first connections, like people I'm already connected to. So I've slowly grown that network over years and years, and those people are already obviously connected to me. Most of the time they know me, modestly well, and that's given me the best rate of reply of any that I've done. But we also use other tools to give us potential leads, and then we feed that through a combination of software on LinkedIn, on email outreach, and also calling too. So we try all of those, but the most successful one I've had recently is the first person contact on LinkedIn.
See, for you, and I totally get it, right? Like that cold outreach for you might be actually more important for your business than my business, mainly because like of the type of customers that you're working with, right? Like there's not a huge spectrum of customers who would probably end up working with you guys because you're working with some very, very large entities, right? So my services can be, my services are, I suppose, like nearly every business could probably use our service, to be fair. So like the outreach, I love the outreach, right? But the thing is with outreach, the conversion rate is extremely low, or it may take a longer time to nurture, right? Because like you're reaching out to them, they may not have a pain point right then when you reached out to them. So then therefore, like when they have a need, they'll think of Capitec, but that might not be today, this month, this year. It could be a long time to come. So, but I totally get it. I love outreach actually.
Have you ever experimented with, and this is the next one I want to try, and I've already found some software that would help us with it. But have you ever tried using WhatsApp as an outreach method?
Hmm. We did that. We started doing that last year through WhatsApp broadcasts, and it was successful. It really was successful. I think this is a fantastic tool today, mainly because I feel like it still felt like it's a personal space, right? Like it's not a email where you get contacted by unknowns or anyone who has your email. You need your WhatsApp number, right? So I think it's like it's still a personal space. Therefore, the response rate is high, and we haven't done that much. But when we have done that, we've got some good responses.
Yeah, that's the next thing that we're going to be experimenting with. Probably after Ramadan is complete, we'll be pushing on that avenue.
And here's another tactic. I don't know about you, but we have WhatsApp groups for every single customer. Because we have so many WhatsApp groups and so many customers, we've started to dabble into cross-selling through those groups, right? So it's even instead of even just doing a broadcast to people individually within your contact list in WhatsApp, doing it within the active clients and even the non-active, even the existing customers. We've still got the WhatsApp group. They still sit in the WhatsApp group. So even throwing a promotion, it's not really a promotion, but sometimes it's like, for instance, like we spoke about, we gave for free for e-commerce companies a prompt to generate like 3D AI generate, like it looks real, right? AI generated product images. And so like we just gave that, right? Like it's not like necessarily selling, but for those existing customers who are e-commerce, it may get a conversation started again, right? Even though you're not our customer, well, even though you're not our customer, we're still giving you value, right? Here's a prompt that you could use to generate. You don't have to pay for models and a studio and a photographer, right? So I think like WhatsApp is fantastic, and you don't necessarily need to be doing broadcasting or promotions all the time, but even just activating. And we do like one of our targets is cross-selling to existing customers. So how can we increase the monthly invoice selling multiple services to the same customer? So that can be done through the WhatsApp.
Yeah, fascinating. And because I've heard someone else describe this, and we don't necessarily have a good solution for it yet, but where you are, and this is probably more applicable to the enterprise customers, but where you're trying to work with different budgets, meaning that, you might be working with the marketing budget or the IT budget, but you try to get into different verticals. So you're opening up the opportunity to work within the same company, but with different budgets. That might be where that cross promotion becomes more relevant, do you think?
And I mean, that's another thing that we've found working with the groups. Like you just think, oh, you'll spread across the entire group now that we've got one account and one point of contact. But actually it's more difficult than that, isn't it? Because like when you've got 30,000 staff, it's actually like, unless you're actually asking to be introduced to other departments, then you're probably not going to be cross-selling as easily as you may think to the other sister companies. So, and I would probably be leaning on your shoulder to see what's the best tactic for that, because again, you work with many big ministries and multinationals.
It's an interesting one, like that I know that we haven't done a good job of, or I haven't done a good job of, is we just talked about how important these referrals are, but I am not very systematic when it comes to asking for referrals. And I've tried to, proceduralize this so we remember. So like when we deliver a project, there's like get client feedback and then say to them in a very, I think this is a later question actually, how do we do it in a non-awkward way? I've even written like a pattern, like, is there anyone else in your organization or in another organization in a similar role that you think could benefit from our services? So it's not like it's cringy ask or anything like that, but you're trying to help more people. I mean, the whole purpose of business is to solve somebody's problem. So who else can we help? All right, and we're back. Some minor technical issues there, Sam, but we've survived. We're going to use the magic of podcasting to seamlessly put this together. We're still just as handsome as ever, of course. So
Same shirt as well.
That. Yeah, same shirt, mate. So when we got dropped off, we were just talking about referrals and so on. And I thought what would be great now is to talk about business networking and our experiences there. So I'd love to hear what your honest take is around business networking in the region, the UAE and Saudi, and what for you gave results and what wasn't just, as they call it, an expensive coffee morning.
Yeah, it's a great question, right? I think it's nearly a whole podcast on its own as well. I don't think it's a regional thing. I think it's internationally recognized that referrals is the best way to grow the business. Networking, physical networking, virtual groups, especially after COVID, doing networking through Zoom and other virtual rooms has also taken off. But I think definitely physical networking came back even very quickly after COVID as well, right? Like there's a real thing there to be shaking someone's hand and actually sharing a physical coffee with someone. But yes, you do need to be careful with the networking groups and the networking events that you go to. Some are going to be more fruitful than others. I suppose it depends on your strategy. It always depends on your strategy, right? Like there are some networking groups where there's thousands of members, right? And then there's other networking groups where there's 30 or less. So why did both work? both work just because like you've got different strategies for each of those two different type of networking groups. For instance, like those big social media networking groups, whether they're online or they do actual physical events, literally hundreds, if not thousands of members, you're going to have to do a lot of nurturing, contributions virtually, and then also a lot of physical meetings to actually start to build up a rapport and start to build up relationships, which is not a bad thing, but it would be a longer term strategy. Or look at those other business networking events which happen in the morning time, like the one that we used to go to. A very different strategy and a very core group of people with less than 30 people, which I love, right? So that one makes a lot of sense because you get to really get to know 30 members and you get to know them very, very well, nearly on a friendship basis. Basically, you build friendships and then you start to generally want to help each other. So expensive coffee mornings, yeah, there's definitely plenty out there, isn't there? I think when you start doing networking, you figure out pretty quickly, actually, there's more. In order to generate some business from it, there's more than just showing up and having a coffee and having a few chats. Definitely needs to be a strategy behind the networking, maybe pre-network and post-networking event as well. What about you? What do you think about the networking environment within the Middle East?
Yeah,
and how can it benefit your business?
It's a great question. So my take is we're early on in the business, I tried kind of everything. So I was attending a lot of startup focused groups. They're always very interesting, particularly when you're starting off more, because it's often focused on venture capital. It's an interesting space. You meet interesting people in those areas, but they're not necessarily, at least for us, going to be a client. So I met some interesting people, but it wasn't something that was ever going to necessarily lead to business. And I attended a lot of the like country-based business groups. And I found that within those groups, it was often just people there aiming to sell. Like there's a lot of financial advisors and of similar kind of industries like that who, they all go there with honest motives, I'm sure. But like there was everyone was there kind of pushing what they had. The one where we met, and I'll mention it, like with BNI. I tell you what worked and what didn't work for me there. What worked for me was the structure. That really resonated with my military head. Like you got a set pattern, you've got KPIs, you're supposed to do these things. And that was really interesting for me because that, ex-military side, that worked well. And you're seeing the same group of people, like less than 30, like you mentioned, every week in and week out. So you build really strong relationships there. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I actually attended, I think, 1 or 2 BNI sessions in Singapore. So
No, you didn't.
Years ago, and I don't think many people do this, but we were looking to expand into Singapore. And it didn't work out in the end, but I attended a couple of BNI sessions, and it was fascinating. They had a very similar structure, as they should, but the culture was still quite different. Like it was a very kind of different dynamic in the room, but still very interesting. And I'm still in touch with quite a few people from those meetings. With BNI, what didn't work out for me, at least, and this might be more my fault than anything else, was it never directly converted to any business, at least while I was a member of BNI. And I feel that that particular organization is great for SMEs. The people that did the best were people that had a very broad customer base. So the people that did printing, people that did gifts, probably the website side for like what everyone needs a website,
Right.
Most people need
Legal,
printing at some point.
Finance, HR,
Yeah.
consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but even though I didn't get direct business there, I've got relationships like with you, and others. Like I've still got the same printing guy. Was the printing guy from BNI. Still use him to this day, like years later.
100%.
He does all of our shows and all our stands. the gift person, I use the same, and I'm in contact with probably a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 people from that group still to this very day. So that's what I got out of those particular groups. But now I've got to say, Sam, I'm much more, I guess, discerning as to what I attend. Maybe because we're a bit further into the business, I find it takes more energy from me than what it might have done 10 years ago.
So true, huh? We're a little bit older now.
Well, I went to it was a really good networking event, maybe a month ago, and it was at a bar. It was like an evening event with like a HR group, and it was a really good event, well organized, great turnout, like fantastic. But again, getting older, like I was struggling to hear anyone, like because there's music in the background, and I walked out of that going, I really enjoyed that. I made a couple of decent connections as well, which was great, but it was really draining. And I'm an early to bed type of person, and now in that kind of loud environment, I seriously struggled. So
I tell you what, mate. I tell you what. We are getting older these days. Like, I'm the same. I did a networking event last year. I was shattered for the rest of the day. Like back in the day, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no problem. Continue on to 3 to 4 meetings for the rest of the day, which were more physical meetings pre-COVID as well. And that was just the norm. But I think we have to look after ourselves, right? Like this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we have to, like you said, be very mindful where we're allocating our time and energy. But saying that, look, there are other networking events out there, right? So like I have a couple of buddies that sort of matured from, like you said, BNI is good for the startups, good for certain industry categories as well. But there are other networking events out there. Like you said, there was a HR, so a dedicated event for a particular sector. That's perfect, right? Like that's a great networking event for everyone who works in that sector, such as HR. Another opportunity for networking events is maybe there are actually networking events out there for larger companies to join as members, right? So companies that have up to 50 or more staff, right? Or are making over a certain amount of revenue, right? Like 10 million dirham plus is usually the next bracket. And so you need to qualify to become a member for those networking events. And so that would work for those type of companies because they've got similar companies at the similar size also as members there. So it could be beneficial. But very honestly, networking events or just networking you don't forget the social media, right? Like we're going maybe a little tangent here, but the social media groups, I see a lot of referrals happening there for, last 5 years as well, especially, right? Like, so referrals, because we're talking about referrals here, getting referred by social media, and also, you see a couple of friends who invest more time in contributing, not necessarily looking out to get business, but contributing to those social media groups, right? And then they get recognized, and then people will refer them within the same group, within the same Facebook group or social media group, LinkedIn group as well, just because they're being seen, they're being visible. And we're the same. We actually get quite a lot of referrals through social media, just because we're contributing in those groups. So, but referral is by far the best way for growth, isn't it? I think for the majority of businesses, referrals and building up relationships is probably how 95% of businesses grow.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think we mentioned it in the first half of the recording session, where the conversion rate on referrals is, I don't know,
unfair advantage.
Yeah, definitely. My favorite referral comes when someone, because we do most of our focus social media on LinkedIn. That's where we do quite well. We're on the other channels as well, but LinkedIn is really where we're active. And because I'm quite active there, like I had a meeting just yesterday with someone who literally thanked me for like my posts on LinkedIn. So it's great indirect strategy for keeping on top of on top of people's minds. Like when the need comes, if you're there and active and participating well, then they're going to remember you. That's why I'm very organized when it comes to particularly what we do on LinkedIn. My favorite one there, and you probably see this on Facebook and other channels more so than what we do, is when someone says, I'm looking for us, like a learning management system. Can anyone recommend something? And then I love this. Like, you'll see in the comments, like 2 or 3 people will tag me, and they're my favorite. I just go, oh great. I joke, all roads lead to Capitec. It's not always true, but when I get a couple of those on the same thread, I mean, it's a referral, it's credibility maxing. Like, you've got a
100%.
couple of people pointing to you, and then that always
Without doubt,
will
you'll
lead to a
get the
meeting.
call.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Oh yeah, you mentioned
100%.
2, 3 times. It's even a strategy, if you are a member in a business group, right, to help each other by giving multiple referrals to that fellow friend or member, because it's guaranteed you're going to get that interest from the person who's looking for that service.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I'd love
Now,
to you go on.
before we go on from the next into the next question, what about Saudi? Because you're probably better than I am actually from when it comes to networking in Saudi. I'm interested to hear, like, what will you recommend with building up a network through Saudi and Saudi networking groups?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a different experience there, and I've got to admit that we're doing it a little bit at distance. So the bulk of our networking there, which goes into what our next question is actually, is around events. So typically for us, the HR events and so on. So I've not been a part of any explicit networking groups in Saudi. What we've been limited to, and because I'm based in Dubai, what we've been limited to is attending those events when the scheduled events of a couple of times a year. Now, what we realize is very, very important there, and this is what we set up the year before last now, was a partner in the country. And I remember we both attended that launch event, didn't we? The show there. So those shows they've got a different vibe to UAE shows. It's because it's mostly, as you'd expect in Saudi, it's mostly nationals attending it, whereas in the UAE it's mostly expatriates attending it. So it's 80-20 opposite way depending upon where you are. And so there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm in the Saudi market at those shows. Now that doesn't always transfer into business or contracts. It's a little bit different than maybe what you see sometime in Dubai. But the first thing that I'll ask you there is, where's your office? And what's your WhatsApp? So it's
strange,
critical. Yeah, well, I
For
think there's
credibility, isn't it?
Sorry?
For credibility,
Yeah.
to know that you're a locally based company.
100%.
They really
I
care
think
about that.
Yeah, so it's so critical there, even more than the UAE. It's important in the UAE, but even more critical in Saudi, that you show that you've invested in the country, you've got a local office, you're based there, somewhat at least, because now it's even restricted that they won't. Many organisations, particularly government, can't deal with foreign companies, can't pay them. So it's that in-country presence is critical.
It was crazy. It was nearly like the first question everyone asks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where's your office based?
Yeah, so by having a good answer to that question and like being able to invite people to the office and having a local number, that is a critical component. So you really, really need to have the organisation office there and in-country sales team to get any kind of traction. That's been my experience there, mate.
Our next upcoming guest speaker, we should also ask him about that, because he spends half his month in Saudi and he does a lot of networking over there. And it's quite traditional way of doing business, more so than over here. So networking is a huge thing. Networking groups is a huge thing. And events are a huge thing over there as well. So it's very much a relationship based, even more so than over here, right? Because probably the majority of their business would be formed by those events. So we can ask him at the next pod.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, speaking of events, I know you did an event. I guess it was last year now,
Hmm.
and we did that one together in Saudi in what was it? I guess it's 2024 now, isn't it? So yeah, what can you speak about your experience at that event and so on?
I think like it definitely is a buzz right to it, and I think it definitely creates a lot of hype. So a couple of friends who are probably more experienced than I am with exhibiting at events is the preparation pre and post the event for it to be
Mm.
successful. If your goal is to convert and create new customers, then putting in the time leading up to the event to let everyone aware that you're exhibiting is creating that credibility. It's creating some fantastic news about the company of what we're currently doing and letting everyone know when you're exhibiting and inviting them over. And then the event, of course, like do everything possible to meet as many people possible and bring as many people to the booth. But then post event is equally as important, which is all the follow-ups, right? So in a timely manner, in a professional manner, and then booking those meetings as well. So yeah, look, mixed results, I think, but I think it's part of a longer term strategy. I think if you're going to an event, from my experience anyway, I can't wait to hear yours. If you're going to the event just to convert business immediately, then you might be a little bit disappointed. But I think for me and from my experience at the exhibiting at an event, it was more about building further credibility from our current customer base. I had it definitely wasn't a line of people, but it was one after another coming to sit with me and the team throughout the multiple day event, which was fantastic, right? And then we're obviously live streaming and letting everyone know that it's happening, so getting more credibility, and then putting out email blasts afterwards and newsletters as well. So it's real, and so like I think we won more business from existing customers and customers that were in our pipeline more so than all the new businesses that we met during the event. But as a result, like we've met some fantastic new partners. We've met some great customers. But I think more so, if you're a business that do a lot of partnerships, then depending on the event as well, like that event that I attended to, there's probably 50% other partners and suppliers. So that's good for me because we work with a lot of partners. What about you? You're probably a lot more experienced than we are when it comes to exhibiting. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about exhibiting or attending as a delegate? Which has worked best?
Yeah, so we've gone up and down a little bit on the trade shows. So in 2024, we did, I think, 5 shows. But
Wow.
last year we didn't do any.
Hmm.
So maybe it was just a little bit of exhaustion from those shows, and the price goes up as well. It's not a small investment nowadays either. So, but we've decided we're going to start doing shows again this year, but maybe only a couple, and we'll pick the top couple of shows for that. And you're absolutely right on what you said about getting the most out of your before the show and after the show. I've got a very kind of a robust way of making sure we're reaching out to the people that are new to us that we know are going to be attending, like the speakers and so on, or delegates. We'll make sure to get in contact with them in advance of the show and invite them over. But equally, as you said, and actually we have more, maybe not more, but a lot of conversations with current clients and partners and competitors as well. Like we see the same people at the shows, and that's always fun and interesting to consolidate that I guess a reputation in the market as well. And then after the show, making sure you do your follow up, so you make a personalized message outreach to them. You know, we have because you're talking to so many people, it got to a point where you might be back to back discussions, and you don't want to miss any of the details. So we got a process where we record an audio note. I'd send that to my assistant. She would transcribe that, and then we had the context of what we discussed. So when we're following up, because that person is more likely to remember what you talked about than what I am, unless I got that captured. So we do a voice note, get it transcribed, and then when we do the follow-ups, the next day or next week, then we've got the context of what we've talked about, and we can kind of pick up the conversation more accurately after that. So we're going back into the shows this year. I'm looking forward to it, but it's as you said, it's less about direct conversion to sales as it is about building that reputation, making sure people know who you are, you're in the market. I feel like if we're not at those shows, people will be like, okay, where's Capitec? Like, what's happening with them? So, yeah, I'm quite excited to get back to it.
I think also on top of that, because like I find like the initial when I started exhibiting, and I was like kind of disappointed, right? Because I was like, oh, there were so many fantastic conversations. This is gonna be amazing. We're gonna get so much more business from this. But then you find a lot of people are just seriously wishy-washy, right? Like they just
Yeah.
like they say talk a good game when they're at the event with all the excitement and adrenaline and noise, but then afterwards they just drop off like off a cliff, right? Like they just complete like what I mean, we were having a great conversation, right? So I think a way to nurture those people, because it's a quick conversation, right? Like no one's gonna, like they say, you're not gonna marry a girl that you just met on at the first date either, right? So you got to do that sort of dating scene and get to know each other. So putting them in an email database, right? Putting into your email newsletter, it's a fantastic way. So even as a result, like if you've got a good strategy in place on how to nurture, right, which could be through your social medias, could be through email marketing, could be retargeting with your with online campaigns. Like you can continue to do those touch points, meetings, right? Of course, a follow up coffee if you can get a physical meeting in as well. Then you might start to see some conversions, and then that investment, like you said, is well worth it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no the challenge is it's very hard to sometimes quantify what deals ended up closing maybe years later because of those multiple touch points that you had at those shows and the follow-ups from those shows and so on, or the client that perhaps you've already got, but they, you built that relationship more because you saw each other at this show. It's another, very valuable touch point, building that credibility and authority in the market as well. So, yeah, I just talking about this makes me get excited more and more about getting back into the shows again.
I mean, it is fun though, isn't it? Like it is exciting to exhibit or even attend as a delegate. And I suppose the exciting thing is, especially most of them are more than one day. So I find it exciting going there and wondering like, who are we going to meet today? Like who's going to show up on our booth today? And that's exciting, right? Like, because like I've made the commitment, I've made the effort, I've made the investment to do this, and hopefully it bears some fruit, right? Like it's a complete gamble but like thinking about it as well, we've met some amazing companies and partners as a result of being credible, being visible in the stand in your booth, and as a result built some trust with them at the event, which then led on to some further conversations after the event. So I think it is an investment, right? So like you said, really do need to quantify the return on investment. And then could I get a better return on investment in a different marketing or advertising strategy? So that's another thing to weigh it up before jumping into the next event. But I think definitely for some industries and for some type of customers that you want to seek, then it's really essential, right?
Yeah,
Oil
definitely.
and gas, right? Like oil and gas. There's some huge oil and gas, and like a lot of the business happens through those trade shows. Yours as well. A lot of your customers would want to see you there as well at your booth at the next event.
And depending upon the industry, then yeah, sometimes it's critical that you're there. Like you won't get the deal. I've seen that where if you're not attending at these, particularly some of the blue chip events, it doesn't impact us quite so directly, but for some of the blue chip events, unless you're attending, yeah, you're not going to get some of those contracts.
Now, do you want to
move on to the next one, or do you want to press a little bit further onto the follow-up after the trade show?
I reckon we move on, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so I love this question. I can't wait to hear your response. What has turned a one-off project into a long-term customer relationship? Is it the delivery of the quality of the work, the relationship management, or something else?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is it's a combination of both. So, but probably more the relationship. If I'm gonna be truthful, so we often get complimented on the quality of what we deliver. I'm very proud of that. And but if the client doesn't enjoy the experience, or you don't start to build up that relationship, then they're not necessarily going to come back, no matter how good you are. So I realize we probably early days we lent too much into the quality of our deliverables, thinking that not that we neglect the client or anything along those lines, but we really relied upon the quality of our product rather than having a better customer success type of mindset, where you're getting back in touch with them to see how you can support them, making sure that in our case the e-learning has met their objectives, and they're getting what they want out of it. And we've put more focus on that side of things. Some of the companies that we work with for the longest, we've just by the luck of it built very strong relationships rather than being, I guess, systematized around it. So some of our oldest clients, we're great friends with them. And so even if there's a change in management or a new procurement policy or whatever it might be, that relationship is then I think they call it like an internal champion, who's the one who's going to advocate to use you. And so it's a later question here, but we've seen more than one instance where we weren't awarded a contract because for us it's always cost. They went with someone cheaper than us. But then it didn't work out, or they weren't satisfied with the outcome, and then they come back. Often the stakeholder wanted to use us, but procurement might have prevented it, or they didn't have the budget. So, and that's fair. Like, we're not going to be for everybody. We're going to, sometimes lose out, especially when it comes to cost. But we've seen it many times. Well, I shouldn't say many times. We've seen it more than once where we've lost and then they've come back because of that relationship and because they wanted that level of quality.
Trust.
Yeah, and trust. So, yeah. So what about you, mate? Like, what makes a long-term client for you guys? I know you have got clients been working with you guys for years and years. So I'd love to hear what, has turned them into someone that is a long-term client for you.
Actually, we still have our very first client from 14 years ago. We're as proud of that fact as he is as proud to be our first client as well. And he's still our client. We're just speaking yesterday. We focused from the outset actually on quality communications, right? So from the very first outset, we saw this was a pain point in the region, working with agencies. So we doubled down on the communications. We thought this could be our unique selling point. It's not so unique, but like we're just going to focus more on it than everyone else, right? So we're going to really focus on delivering a great customer service and great customer communications. So much so, we have more account managers than any other agency at our size within our sector. As a result, we believe that has definitely worked because of the long-term, the very long retention rate that we hold with majority of our customers by renewing their contracts, by jumping into other services of ours. So we're now servicing them with multiple service deliveries and then also referring us to their friends and taking us when they leave their employer and go to another employer, bringing us with them as well, right? So it's very organic in regards to growing a company that way. And it's an investment because there's a cost to having many more account managers who are really their main priority is delivering a great customer service, which is communicating to our customer
they're not actually even executing the work, right? They're just communicating and being the front-facing person of our company. But the client loves that, right? The company, and then they stay with us. Now, relationships or personalities don't always mix, and we've learned that it's going to just be normal in any business that there's going to be people that you work with the same personality and they just gel. But then when you actually start to learn about how to work with someone, when you actually start the contract, and sometimes personalities clash. Now the good thing is we've got lots of account managers, so we can, if they don't like working with one account manager, we can switch and bring on another account manager to work with them, which can most of the time resolve the situation. But it's also fine, right? Like if that personality, like you said, like great relationships works because of the commonalities, right? From culture, from the expectations of the service that they would like to receive. And if they don't, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So, and that's also fine. Like you said, it's completely fine. We don't need to work with every single person. We're out there to work with people who appreciate the customer service that we deliver. So I would actually say it's definitely relationship building. And that just gets built through more and more conversations and communications working together. Yeah. But if you don't do a proper job, you're not going to, no matter how good the communications are, you will lose that contract. So you definitely have to deliver as well. So you need to have a fantastic back office and execution as well at the end of the day.
Well, this is something I wish I had learnt from you again years ago. It's like as I mentioned, we didn't focus as much on that. We weren't as committed to. I mean, it's not that we didn't care about the client or anything like that. We very much cared about the people we're delivering to and the quality of the product. But we weren't very well organized when it came to checking in with them and following up with them and making sure that we met their expectations. We just weren't that. It just wasn't a big enough focus for us. And maybe because you had that experience when you set up Spiral ClickUp, that agency side, like the other side of it. So you knew that there was a gap.
What I like
there.
And what I don't like.
Exactly. So unfortunately, I didn't have that experience because I come from that military side. So I was lacking that. So I didn't realize how important it is to build up those relationships and check in with your clients and make sure they're happy or find what their pain points are and seeing how you can address that. So it's taken a decade of business to figure that out.
And you can always do more, right? Like this is the basics, right? Like this is like the minimum requirements to deliver a great customer service as well as delivering a great product. But you can always do more to delight the customer beyond what they expect as well. So that's a fantastic way to retain a long-term relationship with that customer, to do something unexpectedly, right? So it could be like a unexpected gift, right? Like for Christmas or an anniversary of the contract, or an unexpected like something quirky, or invite them to a podcast, right? Like that's something unique that they wouldn't expect to receive. Or connecting them to another customer of yours, right? To help each other do some business. Go outside of just the service that they're paying for and unexpectedly delight them even further.
Yeah, I love that.
It's fun, isn't it?
I just a random anecdote. Like I wanted to because I'm a big gift giver of books in particular, and I know you've received a couple of these from me.
Thank you.
I've been wanting to send them to some of our clients, but they're like, I can't take it. I'm not allowed to accept gifts. Like there's particularly our banking clients, I can't actually give them anything because if it ever came up in I'm probably focusing too much on some of our bigger clients, but there's proper rules and restrictions about vendors giving gifts to clients as well. But it could just be a thank you note. It doesn't have to be any monetary value there as well.
Look, it's unexpected delights is going to be far more memorable, right? Than receiving a Gucci bag, that's going to be memorable too. But I think something more thoughtful and meaningful instead of just but even receiving a Gucci bag my wife would be very happy getting a Gucci bag. So anyone out there wanting to gift us a Gucci bag, be my guest.
It's funny, like Gucci's was one of our clients and a couple others as well, but we're yet to get those fancy watches in the mail, so we'll drop some
Oh
subtle
my
hints,
goodness.
mate. But
Stop
I think
it.
we got time
You need to
for
expect
one more
this.
question today. And we kind of touched on this earlier, but I'd love to get your opinion. So when you've got a happy client, what's a way that you've been able to use to ask for a referral without it feeling a bit awkward? Do you have a strategy there?
It's a really good question, and we have put some thought into that. It has worked quite successfully as well. So we do projects and we do retainer contracts. So finishing a project, I feel like it's a perfect opportunity to ask for a referral because they're happy, they've got their product or service and it's fantastic and they love it and they're all in that like happy mood. So while and even they'll be thanking you and thanking the team by email. So use that opportunity to actually ask them for a little favor, right? So we've even got like a little survey form which they can share. And one of the questions in the survey form is, would you give us a testimonial, right? Would you be happy to give us a 5-star testimonial? You just put it into the question as well. And so much so and even in the email, we'll send them like the link to our Google business reviews so they can quickly just write a review while they're in that good frame of mind. So, and then asking for a referral, why not, right? Like you could ask for a referral at the same time. If you enjoyed our service, would you refer us on to, what is the likelihood of referring us to your friends? So you can even put that into the survey, put that into the email response, and they do it. You know, they actually do it because they really appreciate the hard work that our team has done. What about you? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of great little tips and tricks of how to get our customers to refer us.
Yeah, for me, it's the timing element that you mentioned there is critical. So, you hit them at that high at the end of the project. They're happy to get it out the door. They hopefully are very pleased with what we've delivered. So it is the perfect time to kind of to initiate that idea. The way I kind of frame it is we want to help organizations be more effective through digital learning. And digital learning can help them, raise their level of compliance, can have a better onboarding, can increase product awareness, whatever it might be, make people more effective and efficient. So it increases the organizational outcomes. So then I frame it in that way. It's like, is there anyone else in your organization, because often we're dealing with larger organizations, that might benefit from improving their digital learning? Or is there someone similar to you in another organization that might be able to benefit from it? So in the end, I hope that what we're delivering, and certainly what you guys are delivering, is beneficial to the company, or else they wouldn't use you. But the challenge is, like, sometimes people don't necessarily know that they could benefit from those services. That referral that framed in that way can go, oh, well, actually, such and such in this department, or such and such at this sister company, or whatever it might be, they could definitely benefit from you. And if someone gives you that kind of referral, then that will 90% of the time lead to at least a conversation and put you on the radar. So that's how I like to frame it. It's not like sleazy, like, oh, who else can you introduce me to? No, it's actually, okay, who else would benefit? Who else you've benefited, I hope. Who else can you think of could benefit at your company or another company?
And really, look, at the end of the day, there's no harm to ask, right? Like, what have you got to lose? Especially when they're in that high euphoric finishing of a project. Why not ask, right? Like, it's a little favor. I know it's extra time out of your busy schedule, but we'd really appreciate if you could think about this and spare 5 minutes of your busy day to refer us on to one of your friends. There is no harm to ask. And if they say it, maybe they don't do it right away, but maybe they come up with a couple of ideas, a couple of people over the coming weeks, once they start using the product and service that you've just launched for them.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. it's a critical thing, and to be just remember to ask, remember to do it, remember to do it at the right time. Like part of your SOPs, if you have them, once you've delivered a project, you're asking for their feedback and you're asking for these referrals as well. So, well, brilliant, mate. I think that's a great place to kind of finish up there. You know, hopefully some good insights there on networking, on referrals, on trade shows and everything else. So, any closing remarks you'd like to leave us with, Sam?
I think just very quickly, that very last question, basically, if there's anyone starting out, what could they do? It really just get your brand out there. You know, if you don't have the money for advertising, then you've got time, get the brand out there, start networking, you'll start building relationships, and then the referrals and the business will start to come.
Yeah, and it compounds over years as well. So put in those efforts, you know, every day. And then, you know, the business will come.
And think long term, right? Like these relationships are not just transactional for one contract. It will be very lifelong.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's a great way to close out, mate. Love it. So lovely chatting to you again. As always, Sam, love the 2 take shirts and everything. And I can't wait for the next podcast.
Looking forward to it, mate. Thanks, my friend. See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Subscribe for more stories from the Gulf.